Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. This is Flosstube number 92. Today is Sunday, March 20th, 2022, and it has been about a month since my last video. I am working very diligently on an exciting new release. It's coming very soon, not this video though. And I've been model stitching, so that has taken up a lot of my time, and I haven't had much to show on a video until now. I have been stitching and finishing some smaller things in the meantime while I'm working on this bigger project. So I wanted to show you guys what I've been doing, but just a little teaser, there is something big coming in probably 2.5 weeks, early April. So anyway, let me show you what I have actually stitched and finished in the last month. The very first thing I want to start by showing is a very special project. This was just released on my Instagram page a couple of days ago. Was it Tuesday? Last Tuesday? By the way, if you don't know, my Instagram username is Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Just all one name, one word. It's not a word. It's all run together. Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. If you want to see me over there. So I posted this earlier this week, but this was a pattern that I designed under Hemlock Rye Stitchery, of course, but in collaboration with my friend Diana. So Diana doesn't really film Flosstubes anymore, but I think her videos are still up, and her channel is It Is Kismet Stitches, and I'll link this below. And she is still active over on Instagram, and she does post regularly. So Diana has a personal connection to a family in Ukraine. If you go read my post or her post about this, you can get a lot more detail there on Instagram. But essentially, Diana asked if I could help design a pattern where we could raise some funds to help this family out. They have been directly impacted by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and also by a COVID-related death during the invasion. So this family is going through a lot, and Diana wanted to do something to help. So we came up with like this collaborative groupthink effort. This is called Their Vigil Keep, and this is a pattern that you can get on my Gumroad, which I will link down below. But all proceeds, 100% of the proceeds from this pattern are being donated to this family. Because it is a fundraising charity pattern, I did set a minimum on this. Now, usually on my Gumroad, my patterns are free or pay what you want. I did set a minimum of $5 or pay what you want on this. But this is what we came up with. And like I said, this was a collaborative, like, groupthink project. Wanted to incorporate some symbols of Ukraine. And what we came up with is the national animal of Ukraine is the nightingale, which is, of course, this big bird here. This is a traditional Ukrainian cottage. If you have been to Ukraine, which I have not, apparently these are quite ubiquitous in the countryside. And they're a thatched roof, squat. I'll try to put a picture in if I can of what I base this cottage on. And then these are kalina berries, which are sort of like a cranberry, and they're very, again, ubiquitous in Ukraine. And they represent different things. My post goes into a lot more detail about this, but this was what we came up with. And I can't remember who had the idea of, like, why don't we make the bird like humongous and put it on a little house? So that's how we got this fun scale. I found a poem from a famous Ukrainian poet that was written in the 1800s, and it was actually about Ukraine's fight for independence from Russia at that time. And there's a line in the poem about a mother laying her children to sleep. And then the poem ends with, "And nightingale their vigil keep." And I just thought it kind of fit with what we were doing with this. So this is the pattern. I'm sorry, I don't feel like I spoke about this very eloquently, but again, I encourage you to go read my Instagram post and Diana's Instagram post, where we have a lot more information about this. This is stitched on a 32 count linen with DMC. And oh, the other thing, I did try to incorporate some colors of Ukraine's flag here. This is not part of a traditional Ukrainian cottage, but I wanted to get a little yellow and blue in there. And then I finished it just as a cute little pillow. And this is Lady Dot Creates mini pom-pom trim in the color Witchy. So that's what I used for the finishing. It matches this color of DMC really, really well. So there is that. Again, link is down below if you'd like to contribute. I don't know how long we're going to have the fundraiser going, but probably for at least another couple of weeks. So again, 100% of anything you choose to give will go to this family in need. And also, if you would like to make a donation and you don't want to do it through Gumroad, or you don't care for the pattern, but you still want to help, there is a link in Diana's Instagram profile where you can donate through PayPal, and it will go directly to the family. So please check that out if you are able to help. It is so appreciated. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who's already donated and purchased this pattern. I was completely blown away. I know the Stitchy community is full of some really good people and really generous people, but I was really, really surprised at the response and the generosity. Like I said, all of this will go directly to the family, just to help them with things like bills, funeral expenses, food, transportation. They're going through a lot right now. So thank you so much if you've helped with that. So what else did I finish? I finished a lot of things. I did. I think I had shown this as a finish last video, but it wasn't fully finished. This is the Witchy Stitcher. What is it called? I can't remember the name of the pattern. Maybe it'll come to me. But anyway, I had shown it last video, but this time I fully finished it. So ooh. I did a flat ornament style finish. This fabric is a piece of, like, just a scrap piece of linen that actually Diana had dyed and sent to me, and it's so pretty. It was just a tiny little piece, but whew, I wish she could recreate it because it's gorgeous. And then I finished this with recycled silk sari trim. I've talked about this before. This is a really fun to finish with. It gives kind of like a rough but interesting finish. I just twist 2 pieces of the sari strips together and then glue them down. But you can find recycled silk sari at a lot of like knitting shops or online. I found mine at a yarn shop, basically. It's a popular textile to work into knitting and yarn projects, but I got the idea from Diana that you could use it to finish things, and I love it, and I'm obsessed. So I've been doing that a lot. I also, from the Witchy Stitcher, I finished this Ouija planchette. I forgot to grab it. I finished the Witchy Stitcher Ouija board pattern. She has several of them, but this was like the original one. And I had enough linen or even weave left over to make the little planchette bonus pattern that she included. So I'm going to I think I'm going to hang that off the side of the framed piece. But yeah, I just did a little flat, soft finish of that. And then I used some black chenille to trim that. There's that. I did hand dye this fabric myself. It's 28 count Monaco. And then I also finished the, oh wait, here it is. No, never mind, sorry. I finished the Ingleside Imaginarium Domestic Love trio that she had released for Valentine's Day. I had finished, last video I had finished one, and then I finished the other two. These were super quick stitches. They took a day each, like really fast. A lot of detail in such small patterns. I'm very impressed. I'm always very impressed with what Brittany does at Ingleside Imaginarium with her designing. I think she's so talented. And she is like the kindest human being. So anyway, I finished these as just cute little flat ornaments. They came out so cute. I used all the called for DMC and I stitched these on 32 count Picture This Plus linen in the color Serene. And here's how they came out. So like I said, called for DMC. And then this trim, this chenille trim is from Colorado Cross Stitcher, Sherry. She has a Flosstube and she also has a store. It's about an hour north of me in Fort Collins. And she sells this trim at the store. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if she dyes the trim herself or if she just sources it, but she does sell this chenille trim and it just like matches perfectly. So I just used a simple nondescript fabric on the back there. But there is that. Those turned out so cute. They're just teeny tiny. Look how little those are. So you can see they stitched up really fast, but I mean, look at the detail in these. For being as little as they are, she really did an amazing job with the back stitch, which wasn't too tedious at all, but really elevated the pattern. So I really love how those came out. And then I also finished, see, I finished a lot of little things. This is Jeanette Douglas, Take Time to Stitch. This is the 15th anniversary edition. Apparently, she had come out with one and then she updated it for the 15th anniversary. These are really fun, really quick stitches as well. But you get to do a lot of specialty stitches. These are really fun and she gives you really detailed diagrams about how to do all the specialty stitches. So if you're wanting to like dip your toe in some specialty stitching, but you're a little bit intimidated, these have really, really clear instructions and they're small. They're 64 by 64, like really little pattern, but allows you to kind of play with some specialty stitching. So I finished this. It's almost fully finished, but not quite. I still need to add trim to this. So I did just like a soft, flat finish on this, but there's going to be some trim going around it. It includes some beads, satin stitches, let's see, Bargello stitch, satin stitch, Rhodes heart, Scotch stitch, brick stitch, Algerian eyelets, Hungarian stitch, all sorts of fun things. And I used the called for, it was a silk pack that came with the charm and the beads. So there was that. And then I had one last finish. It was just a year ago, a couple of days ago, a year ago, that my dog Lincoln passed away. And at that point, a little bit after that, my friend Cindy sent me this pattern as it's a memorial pattern for like a pet. And she had stitched this when, I think she stitched it twice for her two boxers that she had lost over the years. And we had bonded over our love of boxers. So the pattern is from Pineberry Lane. It's called the Beloved Companion Memorial Sampler. And it looks like this. But Cindy had stitched hers in red, and I think maybe just one color, maybe two colors, but she basically ended up doing hers as like a monochrome red work sampler, and it looked so good. So I kind of took inspiration from her on that, but I did add in a few colors. But I stitched mine on 36 count R&R Winter's Brew linen, and it fits tightly in a 5x7 frame. If I had stitched it on 40 count, it would have fit like perfectly. But I kind of like the tight framing. And if you look at the model, it's framed very tightly as well. Although hers is stitched on 32 count, but it's a tight frame there. So anyway, this is how mine came out. So I did do a lot of the red, but I did add some colors in at the bottom, and I really love how this came out. It had a lot of over one stitching, which was kind of annoying on 36 count, but we got through it. Flosses are just random, like color and cottons I had. One of the flosses I had dyed myself. It was just a mix. I just grabbed some flosses from stash. There are two colors of red. There's the orangey brown. There's a white. There's a dark color at the bottom, and then there's a green. So there is that. So those were all the things I finished. Look at me. I fully finished. Who am I? Previous finishes. I actually don't have very many. I only have two. From this time last year. I had finished the Fat Quarter Shop Stronger Together pattern. But guess what? I haven't even fully finished it. I keep meaning to, and then I just keep not. This was the Fat Quarter Shop Stronger Together fundraising pattern last year. It was for Black History Month, I believe. So it was in February of 2021. I did not use called for colors. I just used colors from stash. I'm just going to finish it into like a cute little pillow. I just haven't gotten around to it. And then my other previous finish was a gift. So I will insert a picture because I don't have it with me any longer. But this is a pattern from It's So Emma. And it is called Sew by Row. And this was a stitch along with the Fat Quarter Shop. But I did leave off the very bottom row because it was a very big, dense row. And I didn't have it in me. I was kind of done at that point. It's a really cute row. It's got, it's bundles of like fat quarter fabrics. Really cute, but each bundle was like over 1,000 stitches and they were going all the way across. And I was like, I can't do it. So, this was, I believe the fabric is 36 count, picture this plus, in the color Zephyr. And, I used, Orifloss. What was the name of it? It was a box set of Orifloss. I think it was like a Prim, something Prim. It was from Fat Quarter Shop. But it was like a set of Orifloss spools. So I used those. And those were my previous finishes. So I've been busy. Like I said, now for a month straight, I've been stitching on this piece that I'm going to be releasing in April. But I've still managed to get some other stuff done in the meantime. So what did I work on but not finish? Well, a couple things. I got out my Tiny Modernist Zodiac signs from last year. This was a stitch along last year. And I got out Aquarius and finished Aquarius before we came into Pisces season. However, now Pisces season is over and I never did get to Pisces. So I'm already behind on this, but you know, maybe I'll catch up. We'll see. So this is the work I did to get Aquarius. And these are all the called for DMCs. Except for the border called for like 830, 834, and I switched mine to metallic. I'm using the DMC Diamant metallic golds for that, but otherwise it's the same. It's the called for colors. I hand dyed this 14 count 8 on myself with Rit dye, and here's what I had done previously. I had finished Leo and I had finished Capricorn. and then I worked my way up over to Aquarius. My thought was maybe I could finish this stitch along in 2022 and do each sign as it comes up. But like I said, I've missed Pisces right here, and now we're going into Aries, so I'm a little behind already. We'll see. We'll see. Because when we get to Leo, I'm already done with that. Maybe I'll have some catch-up time. I'm not promising anything. I was roped into another stitch along because I cannot say no. So my friend Alexis, My Amazing World, has been hounding me to start Tombstone Spots from the Primitive Needle. And my friend Amy, Gable Stitcher, she wanted to start it as well. So we all started it together. If anyone wants to join in, that's totally fine. It's not like an exclusive thing. It was just an excuse to finally get around to getting this started. I'm stitching this with the called for colors on a color and cotton fabric of the month. It's a 40 count in the color Balmoral. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's a castle in Scotland. I'm just not sure how to say it. I know what it is. Just don't know if I've ever heard anybody pronounce it out loud. Anyway, I got a little start. I only got to work on this for like 2 nights, I think. I started in the center. And I got that, which is not much, I do realize. But overall, I feel like this actually is going to be a really fast stitch. It's not very big. I did get back to the stitch along from Urban Stitches. It's a black work stitch along. It's not cross stitch, but you know, close enough. It's called That Which Does Not Kill Us. And I am loving how this is coming along. You know, you always take a chance with these stitch alongs. I really loved the border, but I had no idea what the inside was going to look like. And I was just like, I hope it's good because I love that border. Luckily, it's good. It's really, really good. And each piece stitches really fast. I think she releases, sometimes it's like 1 part every week. I think she does 1 part every week for 3 weeks and then gives you the last week of the month off for like catch up. I think she had released, I say she, I don't even know if that's, I don't know. They had released the entire frame first, which I did not finish. But I'm going to just do the frame as I go. And then these were the first few pieces of the stitch along. And I was able to do each section in 1 day, aside from the frame. So it really is a pretty quick stitch. I just haven't had a chance to get caught up, but it's a fast stitch and I really like this. I am stitching this on 14 count. I think it's Fiber on a Whim. Let me see if I have the, oh, it's right here. Fiber on a Whim, Hazelwood is the color, and it's 18 count Aida. Sorry, not 14 count. It's 18 count Aida. I love this fabric. It's gorgeous. And I am using my own floss from Stash, just random, really random floss that I had in Stash. And then my last work in progress is my Moonsick stitch along, because I can't resist a stitch along from the Primitive Needle. This is Moonsick. I'm stitching this with Karen from Fox and Rabbit and our friend Julie. She doesn't Flosstube, but she's on Instagram as Jules Darling, and she just finished this. She finished this yesterday. I did not finish it, but it's actually a really fast stitch. So I have worked on this a total of 5 times, and I am 2/3 done with this pattern. So I'm stitching this on 40 count. Picture this plus, it's trying to turn cool. This is accurate. It's a very warm greenish, but when I come in, it tries to change the tone on you. This is Picture This plus Velt, 40 count. And I am not using the called for colors. I am using various silks that I had in Stash, which mostly are Dinky Dye's Oops Packs silks. So yesterday I did this border right here. This is 700 stitches, so it took all day. But like I said, I'm almost done. So we stitch this on the full moon every month, except for I missed last month. But in general, we stitch this on the full moon every month. I try to do like that night and the next night. So like I said, I've had 5 days into this, and I'm hoping maybe next full moon I can push for a finish. If not, then definitely I think in 2 full moons I can finish this. So those are all my works in progress. But speaking of full moon stitch alongs, Karen at Fox and Rabbit roped me in to stitching this new pattern from, it's a market release from the Primitive Hare, not the Primitive Needle, the Primitive Hare. This is Moon Queen of the Needle series, and I don't even know which one we're gonna stitch first or what we'll do first, but Karen talked me into it. This is what the inside of the needle book looks like. It's gorgeous. I'm not looking forward to this full coverage, but it's so pretty. So Karen actually sent this to me as a present. She had sent me a birthday. Well, she said she had a birthday gift for me, but since they were coming over from Australia to the States for market, she's like, I'm just gonna wait until we get to the States and then I'll mail it. So she sent the birthday gift, but she threw in this market release with the present, and she also threw in these beautiful pins that the Primitive Hare had at market as well. So thank you, Karen. You know, you can talk me into any stitch along, always. She also sent me Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain by Kathy Barrick, which is a pattern I have loved since the moment I saw it years ago. I have always loved this pattern, but it is huge. It's 419 wide by 269 high. This pattern is really big. I adore it. I love it. It's gorgeous, but I always was like, no, it's too big. And Karen's like, well, I'm just going to send it to you, so then you have to start it with me. And then she sent a copy for Alexis. So I have to give this to Alexis. She sent a copy for her. Alexis is local to me. So, I said, just throw it in with mine and I'll get it to her. So I don't even know when we're going to start this, but at some point we will start this. She also talked me and Alexis into starting Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow with her. So she likes those big projects a lot. What else did I get from market? Well, I was actually very restrained, very restrained. I'm trying really, really hard not to buy things right now. I'm really trying hard. But I did get a couple things. So what I don't have here but will be getting absolutely are all 3 of the samplers that Fox and Rabbit released. They are all 3 just gorgeous. I love them. I love them. Love them, love them. So those are definitely coming to me soon. Also that I loved and haven't gotten yet are everything Kathy Barrick released at market, and everything Hello from Liz Matthews released at market. I will get those eventually. I just haven't grabbed them yet. I might get those next weekend when I take a trip to a needlework store. So those are definites. And then I got from Bendy Stitchy, my friend Michelle, I got 1844 Lady Man. This is going to be a stitch along. All those stitch alongs. This is going to be a stitch along with several people. I don't even know if I can remember all of them. So Oliver from Fire Poppies is sort of unofficially hosting, organizing this stitch along. It's also going to be me, Drew from Weasley Studios, Dee from Dee's 20 Stitches, Michelle, Bendy Stitchy. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. But anyway, we're going to be stitching this. We're going to start it, I think, on the 23rd. What day is that? That's Wednesday, I think, this week. We're going to start this stitch along. So if anybody would like to join us, we're going to use the hashtag, I think it's Ladyman. I think it's just Ladyman Sal. And then Oliver christened our group the Salacious Squad. So if anybody wants to join along and use those hashtags, feel free. I also, this is not a market release, but Michelle at Bendy Stitchy, she collaborated with Evertotes for this new set of flamingos, the Flamingo Duo, and there was a floss pack from Leo and Roxy at Evertotes. And I love the patterns. I love the flamingos, but I saw the colors and I was like, yep, those are definitely a need. So I bought the floss pack. It came really quick. So here's a little secret. Even though Evertotes is in Canada, they actually shipped from, I think it was Niagara Falls. So it wasn't like mail coming from Canada. It was actually from, it was like, I got it really quick. I got it really, really quick. And these were ready to ship. So I think they shipped out within 2 days. So I got them very quickly. So excited. I'm actually going to start this tomorrow. And I love these patterns. Michelle talks more about them. There's a whole story. And maybe I'm trying to be quick because I have so much to show. So maybe when I show my work in progress or finish next video, I'll talk more about that. Another thing I had to get from Market, Amanda May at Artist Designs has this book. Oh, there's so much good stuff in this book. I needed it for this sampler. Let me show you. She showed this on her Flosstube and I was like screaming. It's so pretty. This does not do it justice. If you go watch her Flosstube Artist Designs, she, really shows this like in motion. It is so beautiful. So this was a sampler that she actually bought an antique and then charted and stitched it. I'm trying not to show. Here. I don't want to show the little bit of chart on that side. So on the left is the original and on the right is the reproduction. And for the reproduction, she used the bright colors from the back. So a lot of times with these antique samplers, you will have a lot of fading on the front, whether from sunlight or just environmental exposure. And when you look at the back of these samplers, they're much, much brighter, much more vibrant. So the sampler was pretty bright and vibrant on its own, but she charted it using the colors on the back. So it's super bright, super colorful, and just really pretty. This book is so good. I just really wanted it for that sampler, but she has so many cute little projects in here. Cross stitch, wool applique, like all sorts of little things in here. And she has amazing instructions. I'm trying to find like an example. For every project, she gives you like extremely detailed instructions on the finishing for the projects, how to sew them together. Like look at all these instructions, like if you need them for how to finish things. Really clear, really beautiful projects. Oh, here's another look at that sampler. The reproduction is on the top and the original's on the bottom. So I will hopefully be starting that soon. I have to get floss together for that. So I needed that. I got that from Abby at Top Knot Stitcher. And then my last Market purchase from Fire Poppies. I had to get the new Blackbird Designs patterns. I mean, come on. Come on. So I got Humming of the Bees. This is beautiful. That house is really big. Oh, it's so pretty though. I love this. I love this. And then I had to get the book, A Heart Remembers. This book is so good. Their books are always good. I mean, have there been any that aren't good? But I will stitch every single thing in this book. And that's how I felt about Sewing Club and The Winds of Autumn. I felt the same about those. Like, I will stitch everything. Every single thing. Every single thing is gorgeous. there's some old exclusive patterns that have been re-released, and then there's a couple of new ones. I think this one is new, I believe, for Barb, in honor of Barb. This is Forget Me Not. Look how beautiful. I'm not going to do a flip through, but this book is awesome. There's so many good things in there. Okay, so that's all. Whew, that's all the stitching. Like I said, I was trying to go fast, so sorry if I went a little too fast. I am now going to do some book talk, so if you aren't interested in hearing about books, that's fine. You can leave now and you won't miss anything. I'm just going to talk about books. I'm done talking about stitching. But if you want to stay for book talk, I read a lot. I think I just said book talk instead of book talk. Book talk is a thing. I don't participate, but it's a thing on TikTok. Okay, so what did I read? Oh my gosh. I've read many things. I've done a lot. So first things first, I meant to talk about this last video and I totally forgot. So I actually read this before, but I read A Very Claggan Valentine by Holly Hanzo. So this is a novella for Valentine's Day. So not a full-length book. I think it was like 100 and something pages. Really quick read. So Holly Hanzo is a pen name for someone who is actually in our stitching community. She's a cross stitcher, and she started writing, I think it was last year. She is a debut author, and she writes alien smut romance. So as you can imagine, doesn't really take itself too seriously, like just some good trashy fun. Now, if you're sitting there going like, what on earth are you talking about? Like, this is a thing. Alien smut is a thing. It's very prevalent on Kindle Unlimited. You may have seen I think the most famous one is Ice Planet Barbarians, which was alien smutty fantasy that actually got so popular that they have printed it. I saw it at Target, like for sale. Like you can buy this at Target and Walmart. Like, so this is a thing. It's a thing. Anyway, I loved this. I loved all of them. I think she's had 3. She had the full length like first novel, and then she had a Christmas novella, and then she had this Valentine's novella, and I think the next like full length story is coming out really soon. But like I said, they don't take themselves seriously. These are just like a fun like little romp, like sexy romp, right? These books are spicy. They are very spicy, which I very much appreciate, but just know that going in. And if you are interested in reading some smutty, fun alien romance, these are on Kindle Unlimited, or you can purchase them, through Amazon from Holly, for they're very reasonable, like under $5, I believe. So anyway, that's what I read first. So then I buddy read with my friend Andrea, the Stitchy Bookworm. We're always buddy reading something. Always. We're always like, what are we reading next? So we buddy read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This was super popular last summer, and I bought it back then, but I finally got around to it. So Emily Henry has become an instant buy for me. Like, I read her first book, Beach Read, absolutely loved it. So of course I bought People We Meet on Vacation. I really love this too. I will say, I think I've seen a lot of booktubers talking about this, and they all kind of agree, like Beach Read was a little better. But this is still really, really good. That's not to say this was disappointing in any way, but I do think I like Beach Read better. But I loved this book. So this is about 2 best friends who always take a vacation together, like every year, because she works for like a travel blog. She's like a kind of a social media like influencer who travels around and gets like free hotel stays and all this stuff. So she always takes her best friend from college with her, and something happens, and you don't know right away, but something has happened on a vacation, and they've had like a falling out, and they haven't really talked for like 2 years. And she invites him on a vacation to try to see if she can save their friendship and like rekindle their friendship. And they fall in love. But I mean, you know, that's what happens. So it takes until almost the end of the book before you find out like what happened 2 years ago. Like they keep referencing it, but that kind of is part of what is really compulsively readable about this is you're like, what happened? What was it? I will say it was a little anticlimactic what happened 2 years ago on vacation, but it did make sense for the story. And I very much love Emily Henry's writing. It doesn't just read like a contemporary romance. Like her writing also reads more like just women's fiction. And she's really funny, really clever, always really good banter between her characters. And yeah, this is great. I mean, the hype is real. The hype is real. It's a good book. I cannot talk this long about every book. I gotta be a little more rapid fire because I've got a lot of books to talk about. Okay, so then I read the second book in the Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. I'm definitely not going to go into detail on this. This series has been around forever. It's like 1 million books long. I don't know, it's 13 books or something. Books are all big mama jamas. It's epic fantasy, like very much in the vein of like Lord of the Rings. You know, there's a chosen one. They go on epic quests. There's a big bad dark evil power. It's not like a Lord of the Rings copy, but like it's got that feel to it. But I'm very much enjoying it. So I've only read 2 of them, but I will continue with the series, and I really did like this. If you're looking for some good classic fantasy, it's a good series. I put off reading it for at least 5 years now because there's so many books in the series. I just didn't want to commit. So then I read my babe. Crescent City 2, House of Sky and Breath. You might remember I just read the first book, Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, and I designed a pattern for my friend Carla based on this book. I had waited over a year to read this book until I knew the second one was coming out. But I did read the second one as soon as I got it. Okay, I'll be honest. It's not, the first book was better, but it was still great. So, okay, Sarah J. Maas. She knows what she's doing. So this is adult fantasy romance is what I would call it, is what she generally writes. But this series is urban fantasy romance. So a little different. Her other ones were just classic fantasy. But these are set in an urban environment, but still like fairies, angels, werewolves, shifters, like witches, demons, like everything. So book 2, like I said, I didn't love it quite. It wasn't as emotional for me as book 1, but I still loved it. And I did love book 1 so much. And I talked about that last video, but, what Sarah J. Maas is really good at is like a wham bam crazy ending. So you can read her whole book and be like, yeah, it's good. Like, it's pretty good. Like, this is like a 3.5, maybe 4 star. Like, it's all right. And then like that last 20% is so bananas. And you in the book, like 5 stars, loved it. Oh my God. And want to reread it. Like, she can write an ending for sure. So everybody is talking about the ending of this book, and I'm not spoiling it for anybody, but oh my God, like screaming at the ending of this book. And it sent me straight into a reread of Throne of Glass from Sarah J. Maas, which is an 8-book series. Oh yeah. Yep. I've been rereading Throne of Glass. So I'm going to put up a little graphic here of the books. Originally, this was her first book, Throne of Glass. During this series, she released several short stories, And then at some point, it's 4 or 5 short stories. And at some point she compiled those into one book called The Assassin's Blade. And now the general school of thought is that if you're going to read this series, you actually should start with The Assassin's Blade, which is a prequel, and then move into Throne of Glass. And when I read the series the first time, I did not do that. I started with Throne of Glass, and I think right before the last book, I read all the novellas, and it was fine. But on the reread, I did start with Assassin's Blade, and it's worth it. If you are just picking up this series for the first time, I do recommend that you go that route. This is a fantasy romance, and I think it sometimes gets categorized as young adult, but I would call it new adult. The main character is like 17, 18, 19, and in the series, and it doesn't feel young adult to me at all. So anyway, I love this series. I loved it originally, and I am really loving it on the reread. I am on the 3rd book now, which, if you count the prequel, is actually the 4th book. So I've read The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and I am currently reading Heir of Fire, which is most people's favorite book in the series, and I am loving it. I love this series. I highly recommend this series. I do warn people with all of her series, they kind of get off to a slow start because she's laying a lot of groundwork and building a lot of plot threads and introducing a lot of characters. The payoff is worth it if you just stick with it. The last books will start to tie things together, and it's just amazing. So when I read this the first time, I remember I finished the 1st book and I was like, yeah, it's all right. And then I finished the 2nd book and I was like, it was all right. Like, it's good, but not like, wow. And I wasn't sure I wanted to keep going, but I already had downloaded the 3rd book. So I was like, fine. And then the 3rd book like was so good and really took off. And then after that, the series was just incredible. So I do warn people, like, the 1st book isn't going to like blow you away. It's good. It's just not going to blow you away, but it is worth it if you just stick with it. It's worth it, I promise. Okay, so then I read this book, talking about this book. Okay, so someone who watches my videos messaged me, and she's like, have you read this book? Her name's Shelly. She's like, have you read this book? And I was like, no, I never even heard of it. And she's like, can you read this book? Because I need to talk to somebody about it. And I was like, maybe, I guess. And then I was like, well, let me go look. And I saw it was on Audible, and it was in the Audible Plus catalog, which with your monthly subscription, you have access to the Plus catalog. Anything in the Plus catalog you can listen to. So I didn't have to pay for it. So I was like, oh, it's on Audible Plus. Okay, fine. So I actually listened to this story, and it's called All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. And the author is Bryn Greenwood. I have some thoughts about this book, and I can see why Shelly was like, I need you to read this book so I can talk about it. Like, cause I don't know, like I have so many thoughts. So this book is, I'm not going to go into detail, I promise. But this book is about, child sexual abuse, essentially. So it features like a very young girl who's in a horribly abusive, very traumatic, like, childhood. Her parents are on drugs and she's neglected. It's awful. This man kind of steps in, associate of her father, like steps in and starts taking care of her. Very wholesome and innocent at the beginning, but the relationship becomes sexual when she's in her teens. And I like still don't even know how to feel about this book, because it was written beautifully and it was so compelling and readable, written just gorgeously. And even when it turned into sexual abuse, it was still really well written and really getting into the character's mind, and you could see why it was happening, even though you obviously would never agree with what was happening. You could see like how it got there. Where this book completely lost me was that by the end of the book, it was condoning and glorifying isn't the right word, but by the end it was condoning the relationship. The victim and the perpetrator end up married. Sorry, spoiler. Spoiler alert. They end up married with a happily ever after. Like it's just horrible. Like up until like that last end of the book, like it was really a well-written book. I think if they could have just where it went off the rails was that they didn't continue with the narrative of like, this is how it happened, but this is really wrong and there are consequences and this is not okay. At the very end, there's that twist of like, it was actually what was really the most disgusting was the author made it really romantic at the end, like forbidden love, and people are trying to keep them apart and they're fighting to be together because they love each other so much. And I'm just like, this is a child. Like no. So totally lost me at the end. It was written so beautifully until then. I'm still not okay. So I can't recommend this book. I can't. And I'm sorry if I spoiled it. If someone was like, hey, I might have wanted to read it. I really can't. I can't get down with it. Beautiful writing, horrible, horrible execution. What it kind of, a book that I felt was very similar, but did it much better was, My Absolute Darling by Gabriel, Talent. That book features a similar, situation, but where it's different is that the author never condones it. And there are repercussions, and that abusive relationship ends and the victim moves on and goes on. But that book like is a similar theme where you get into the head of the abuse victim and you see how I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like you can see how they end up when they're groomed, like convincing themselves that it's okay when it's not. We all know it's not okay. But you can kind of see how their head's working. But that book does not condone. Whereas this book condoned and romanticized. That was the part I really, really couldn't get past, was the romantic aspect of it. And then that they have a happily ever after. I was like, no, absolutely not. Nope. And Shelley, I still don't know like how to feel about you making me read that book. But whatever. Okay. So then I read The Traitor Queen by Danielle Jensen. This is an adult fantasy romance. I've been on a fantasy romance binge. This is book 2 in a series. This is on Audible Plus, so it's included. And the first one actually surprised me. I liked it a lot better than I thought I would. It's not like amazing, but it's really good, solid like fantasy romance. Enemies to lovers, and I really enjoyed this. So check those out if you're interested. Then I read Tessa Bailey, It Happened One Summer. I have been kind of holding on to this one as well. And then the second book in this series, Hook, Line, and Sinker, just came out. So this is contemporary romance, a rom-com. Tessa Bailey, it has become like a kind of like an instant buy author for me. And I'm so glad I gave her a chance, because I had read one book by her and I was not like, I was like, it was all right. It was pretty good, but like, I didn't love it. And I wasn't sure I was going to read any more from her, but then I did. And I really liked the next book I read. And so since then I've read Window Shopping, which I loved. And then It Happened One Summer, which I loved. So Tessa Bailey, I'm into it now. Oh, I also read The Sweetest Fix by her, which I really like too. So this book is based, this book was all over last year because she based the main character Piper on Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek. She's not like a direct copy at all, but she's kind of like that, like kind of airhead party girl, like rich socialite. That's Piper. But Piper is sent to Piper is in LA. She has a party. She gets arrested, and her stepfather is like, I'm cutting you off. I'm sending you to Washington, where your father owned a bar, and you're gonna go run the bar for a couple months, prove that you can handle like adult life and responsibilities, and then you can come back if you can prove that to me. So she ends up in this tiny little fishing town in Washington, and she's like a fish out of water, and she meets Captain Brendan Taggart, who is the love interest, and this is her story, and it was really good. I loved it. I have so many books still. I'm really trying to hurry. Okay, we're almost done. I listened to, on Audible Plus, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I think this is probably my third or fourth time reading this book, and you know what? I was on like a Bronte binge because I just watched a documentary, I think, that I had stumbled across. So I was like, oh, why not? I'm gonna go listen. I listened to Jane Eyre a couple months ago, so I was like, I'm gonna listen to Wuthering Heights. And my thoughts about Wuthering Heights, it's weird. It's stunning. It is written so beautifully. But I hate everybody in this story. I hate them all. I hate the things they do. I hate it all. That's sort of the point. But it's just one of those. It's a hard book because I love it, but I hate it. So it's like writing, execution, 5 stars. Like actual enjoyment, like 3 stars, because I don't really have a good time because I don't like these people. But that is kind of the fascination I have with the Bronte sisters. I feel the same way about Jane Eyre. A little less. I actually enjoy Jane Eyre a lot more than Wuthering Heights, but then Wuthering Heights has some lines that just like will knock your socks off. It's just so beautiful. I do think it's a little too long. I hate the last act with Catherine Jr. Kathy and oh, what's his name? I can't even remember right now. Earnshaw, maybe. The last act I think goes on a little too long. I wish it was just Heathcliff and Kathy's story and that we didn't have to have the kids play out, but regardless, I read it, whatever. It's a classic. And I didn't like it, but I did, but I didn't. That's how I feel about Wuthering Heights. So then I buddy read with Andrea, a new release, V. Schwab Gallant. I don't know if it's gallant or gallant. I really don't know for sure. I mean, I know the word, but in this story, it's a place, not an adjective. So I don't know if the place is gallant or if the place is gallant, because I kind of feel like it could be called gallant. It kind of makes sense for like a place. Anyway, all that to say, I'm trying to be better about reading books when they're coming out, like new releases, as I get them. So this was a new release just a couple weeks ago, so I wanted to read it right away. This is I believe it's a children's book. Or young adult. I think Andrea was telling me like they had, V. Schwab had talked about how it was actually really hard to decide and figure out how to market this book because the story is very unique, and although it features the main character is an adolescent, it doesn't feel like a children's book by any means. Like it felt to me like appropriate for an adult to read but it is featuring like a 12-year-old girl or something like that. I can't remember exactly how old she is. But anyway, this book was really, really good. The artwork is gorgeous. So basically, the main character, Olivia, she is mute and she is an orphan and she's being raised at a girls' school. This is like, maybe Victorian London. It's a historical setting. I don't know if we know the exact year. I'm looking to see if it ever said in here. Yeah, it doesn't. So anyway, she, her mother has left her a journal, and, the journal has like some very mysterious like letters and things in it, that don't make a whole lot of sense. But one thing in the journal that, most of the journal is addressed to Olivia from her mother. And one thing she wrote in her journal was, Olivia, you'll be safe as long as you don't go to Gallant. And she's like, I don't even know what that is. And then turns out like she has an uncle who finds her and is like, come live with me in Gallant. And she's like, heck yeah, get me out of this orphanage. And she's never like, but my mother told me like never to go there. She just goes, she just runs off. And then this like crazy mystery unfolds. So it's like, it's very dark and atmospheric, and I can't really talk much more about it without really spoiling the book. But it was a really beautiful book. The book is beautiful. Like it features, let me find some of these illustrations. There's just really beautiful illustrations in the book. The story is very unique. Like I said, dark and gritty and really, really fascinating. And a really quick read. It didn't take long to read this at all. So I liked it a lot. I think two more. We're almost done. Okay. So like I said, I'm trying to read the new releases as I get them. I had just gotten this book. I pre-ordered this. This is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a sapphic contemporary romance, and I loved this book. It was so good. I think it said something about, it was a debut. Yeah, debut author, Ashley Herring Blake. And a lot of times with someone's first book, like it's like, there can be some issues sometimes. And I was like, God, this book is written so well. And like, come to find out, she is not a new author. This was her debut into like contemporary romance. But I guess she's written several books previously, including like, I think she was writing young adult or something like that. Oh yeah, she's the author of young adult novels, 3 young adult novels, and like several middle grade novels. So she has been writing for a while. So, and it showed, but I loved this book. So this book is about, Delilah Green is a photographer in New York City, and she is called home to photograph her stepsister's wedding in, I think it's Oregon or Washington. I think it's in Oregon. And she needs the money. Like she doesn't really have anything to do with her stepsister or her stepmother, but they're like, we'll give you like $15,000, like come photograph the wedding. So she returns home and she re-meets, because she had known previously Claire, one of her sister's best friends. And they kind of have a connection and they fall in love. So, I mean, when I'm talking about a contemporary romance, like it's not a spoiler. The 2 people on the cover fall in love. But it was really good. It was really good. Written really well. And also like really angsty, which I love. I love a good angsty romance. Really steamy. I love that this author like went there. Sometimes with queer themed romance, you get kind of like fade to black or like euphemisms for things, or kind of just surface level like intimate scenes, because I don't know, maybe they're afraid of like scaring away the straight readers or something. I don't know. But this one, like, you know, we got the spice, we got the steam, we got the details, and I appreciated that. And it was really steamy, really steamy. But yeah, this book, I loved this book. I highly, highly recommend this series, because there's another one coming out. But I don't know when, but there's another one. Okay, and my last book. I just feel like I've been talking about books forever. Okay, the last book I read was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. Now, Colleen Hoover is such a popular author, especially right now. She's having like a renaissance, and like her older books are like, I think at this moment she has like 5 books on the New York Times like top 10, and they're like books that came out years ago. So she is doing real well for herself right now. Colleen Hoover, love to see it. So I have been told, like, read Colleen Hoover, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I actually own like 5 books of hers, and I will read them. But on Kindle Unlimited and Audible, Regretting You was in the catalog for like your monthly subscription. So I was like, well, I'll just start there. So I listened to this book, and it was really good. It was really good. I liked it. But I think in general, people don't think this is like her best. It's not anybody's favorite, and I could see that. But I'm excited to read more from her, because she is just so easy to read, compulsively readable, like just nice, like comfort reading, I almost feel like. Except for another theme I know about Colleen Hoover is like a lot of her books are like gonna break your heart and make you cry. So I guess maybe it's not comfort reading, maybe we shouldn't call it that. But I have heard that, you know, like her books are really hard to put down. Like you can just binge it in a day because you can't put it down because it's so good. So this book features a mother and daughter who suffer a tragedy. And I don't think this is a spoiler. I think it's like on the cover of the book, you know, the mother's husband, the daughter's father, passes away tragically in a car accident, like right at the beginning of the book. And then the rest of the book is about them like navigating that grief. So pretty heavy topic. A lot of people get really frustrated with the daughter because of the way she acts. It made perfect sense to me. She's 16. She's about to turn 17, but you know, she's 16. So she acts like a brat to her mom, and she does dumb stuff. And she's dealing with the loss of her father. Like, to me, it all made perfect sense that she acted the way she did. But I know a lot of people don't like this book because of like kind of the bratty things she does. But I didn't mind. But you get the perspective of the mom and the daughter, kind of switching back and forth through the book. And I really liked it. I did enjoy it. I didn't love the ending. It got super cheesy. Like, just like the very last chapter, like had this really weird, like romantic reveal that I thought was so like cheesy. And I was kind of sitting there like, why? Like, why? I mean, if you've read it, you probably know what I'm talking about, but it was fine. I mean, it was the end of the book. She was wrapping everything up, but I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't think it was necessary at all. Yeah, I liked it. I'm excited to read more Colleen Hoover and get my heart broken, apparently, in most of her books. So I'm just looking at my list to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I got it all. All right. That's it. I'm done. I gotta go. I'm tired. All right. See you guys next time.